Hello guys, what's up? This is Scher talking. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about Summer 2021 SaGa banner. Call it, I think, Romancing Festival Creator. This is the newest banner that will be released alongside Conquest. Conquest, we missed you so much in this game. There's also a returning banner for 5 styles. They are all good, although, well, returning styles, they are not on the top of their games anymore. We have Cordelia, Christmas Wheel, Rouge, Taria, and Nasus. That also means that we'll probably receive another returning banner with Blue, because Rouge is always alongside Blue. I don't know, all these styles are still very good, but they are not on the top of their game anymore. Okay, so we'll be talking about this in a different video. We just want to say that there is a Conquest mode reaching us, there is NS styles for Aunus and Creator, and 2 new SS equipments. But before we talk about that, we will have this video specifically about this banner. We have Creator and Aunus as 2 new characters and a new version of Byunei. Already good enough. I do believe that this banner is good, but not like one of the best banners we have ever seen. There are 2 meta characters here. We need to say that Byunei is a meta character, Creator is a meta character, Aunus is totally skippable. You don't need him, although he does have a real usage if you have Joe and Genryu. Let's start talking about Creator. Okay, here we are on rsrs.com. Thank you so much, Rafa, again for this website. Creator is Camille in JP. He did receive some status buff compared to his JP counterpart, and also a change into one of his passives. Well, Creator is a meta character because of elemental coverage. He also works very different and introduced a new type in this game, that is martial artists that uses intelligence as base. Yeah, he is just a magic spellcaster, but uses martial artists as a weapon. That's his different thing. I think they just didn't want to give him a stat because it doesn't make sense. He just has 100 for intelligence, 100 for will, so he's also kind of very resistant to magical attacks. The Aunus is not bad as well. You can even place him in many formations that he would kind of reduce some physical damage as well. He does not use dexterity, just let's say something here. He does not use dexterity and also does not use STR. These status are useless. They still have some percentage here because that's how they distribute status. He does have low love and every charm. So the agility is kind of high. Well, mages have around 70% right now. 70% is around average, but very high intelligence and will. He will be used in the backlines most of the time unless you are using Rainbow Rangers, where all characters have the same chances to be attacked. So talking about passives, the first one being Fluke is very similar to what we have with Vagnus, but the thing is, it's way powerful. Why? Because Fluke is a chase passive. That means that after your Creator attack with any of the first or the second skill, or even some skill inherited by any chance from his older styles, even his S style that's available right now, or some of his future styles, he has a 25% chance of chasing and attacking again with Fiat Lux. And this is a very powerful attack with B power, lightning, and some damage. So still multi-elemental, and something that can happen even when he uses the first skill, that's Time Q. Time Q is very cheap, so when this happens, it's amazing. And even in the future, when he inherits some other skills from future styles, he'll still be able to chase. This was also changed for global, and this is only possible now because of it. But this increases his damage potential a lot. The problem with this is that, well, I don't think that's so good to have that much RNG in farming. If you are farming a stage, you either want to kill every time away, where you just don't want to rely on RNG, because it sometimes is fast, sometimes it's not. But for all other content, weekly, monthly, just increases your chances of survival if you are killing more enemies in this turn. Just like Vagnus, I say that Vagnus is the king of the weekly and monthly content. He just got a competitor that's pretty similar to him, but uses a different slot. It can also be used together if you want. The second passive is called Superior Zoning, and this one increases his AoE damage by 15%. It was increased in global, it was only 10 in JP. He also got a buff for intelligence, so that means that he gets more damage here on global. And all of his attacks are AoE, will always be AoE, so this means that it's always useful, always activated. Fired up 5 gives him 20% more increase in damage, so that means 35 at all times with multiple elemental coverage. So that's why he's so good and versatile for damage. First Q is called Time Q. This is a knee power attack and it has double elemental coverage. As you can see, he has multiple elemental coverage. Blunt and lightning for this Q, and then cold and lightning, and then sun and lightning. This is an elemental caster that is very versatile. You can use him in many different scenarios. He can complement the damage of characters that you cannot finish a wave by themselves, and he can also do very high damage with second and third skill. But first time Q is just a sheep attack that uses only 3 BP, and here is where we start comparing him to one other character that is also very versatile. That is Vagnus. Vagnus also has a sheep AoE attack that uses 3 BP, and he's like the king of the weekly and monthly content. Vagnus is one of the best styles for Dojo, for Zui, for Spiral, for Robin Cup, and that is the same case as with this version of Creator. Sheep AoE attack helps that much. Physical and magical attack, so very nice combination. Creator is also better than Vagnus because Vagnus uses both STR for his physical attacks and intelligence for his magical attacks, and some of his attacks cannot be interchangeable. While Creator is always on the intelligence's log, that means that he is better than Vagnus in this regard. The second is called Creator's Power. It has a beat damage, and it's both cold and lightning. Cold and lightning is just 2 elemental attacks, but it's kind of clashing here because many enemies are weak to cold and lightning at the same time. It's not adding that much diversity. That's the same case as with Silver. Silver is a character that has both cold and lightning as an AoE fast attack for turn 1, and we know that sometimes it doesn't seem like it's so diverse. There is Mac that uses double physical with Pierce and Slash, and sometimes you find it more easy to use Mac instead of Silver. So you have to understand that, but it also means that using Creator with Silver is easy. Also, you can bring Khalid to increase the damage of lightning from both. You can also, well, if the enemy is only weak to lightning, you can also use Rock Bouquets. She also has lightning nuke. Depending on the waves, you can use them, or use also Madeline or some other lightning attackers like Global Exclusive in Media. Well, the good thing about this is that you can use this on turn 1 without any problem. It's not a fast attack, like I said, Creator is not a fast attacker. Then we have the third skill called Fiat Lux. Strange, because Fiat's the brand of cars, and it's still lightning. See, all of his attack has lightning plus something, so he's a specialist in lightning plus another element. So Fiat Lux is still B power, but it's a little higher, we'll be seeing this later, and it's lightning and sun. Same thing, indirect, all enemies, but it also has something else. Besides adding sun, it has a chance to inflict darkness. Guys, darkness is useless most of the time. Why? Because you can get higher than 100% accuracy hate for your attack, meaning that it only matters if your agility is pretty high and you can inflict darkness to a boss, and that will allow you to evade it in the matter, but it's very situational, hard to work as intended. So as you can see, we have multiple elemental coverage, B power for the skills. We'll be checking the real power right now. We are on our SaGa website, the JP database. As you can see, the second skill has a 21, while the third one has a 25 modifier. That is just so you can understand that because the higher cost, the power is higher. And with that said, remember, every time that you use Creator's Power, or you have 25% chance of following up with Fiat Lux, that means that for weekly content and monthly content, you have sometimes better damage. For normal standard farm, I still don't like chase skills because it kind of affects your farming for better or for worse. Sometimes it's better, but sometimes you cannot rely on this and it affects the order of your attacks as well. But weekly content, it makes sense, it just increases the damage output and it's good enough. Vagnus wins only in one situation, that is when Vagnus kills, he recovers, and that is not something that you see in Creator. And you can also use both together, it's just that Vagnus will have to be on the physical part, and if you are using Rainbow Rangers, or if you're using Tiger Shark, you can still use Vagnus in the back in one slot and Creator in another. Although I still believe that you may have better usage for healers as well, if you still can place them in your squad. Okay, so that is the first thing about this version of Creator. There is also an S style that you'll be getting in this event, and this S style has 3 different skills for inheritance. The first one is Resurrect. This one is just a heal spell, but it's only self, meaning that it can only be casted on himself, and it heals and increases endurance. Well, his endurance is pretty good. It can stack if you are using multiple times, but it's just so you don't want to stress your healer. But it's not something very worth, especially because this is more for, well, boss fights, and you don't really use him too much often in boss fights, like some other styles. Then the second and third skills are physical only, they are only blunt, and they are not that good. They can be used 2 times in a 3-turn cycle. One is a column attack, another one is a row attack, but they are very situational, where you only find enemies like this for very specific events. Okay, and now we are back to Romance SaGa because I want to talk about one of his future styles. There are 2 future styles of Creator, this one here, and there's another one that's very recent in JP, but this one was released 3 months after the current one, meaning that you have to think about him in the usage of the future style because they complement each other. Let's click on this one here, and this one got released alongside all other styles from SaGa Collection banners. I don't know if they will do the same on Global. You can even see the first Creator here as well. But the only beatable character was this version. So the second Creator is beatable in this banner. The first one is not. The first one is only beatable right now on the current banner. But some people may want to think about waiting for this banner if they want, but they will have a risk of not getting Creator and not being able to beat it. We don't know if they will do the same as JP. But this one here is a complement to the first Creator because of more elemental coverage and more cycles. Well, skills number 1 and 2 have the same power. They can be awakened 2 times. They reach the same BP cost as 5. And it's Sun plus Lightning and Slash plus Cold. 4 different elemental attacks with the second version of Creator. The bad thing about this one is that when you awaken both twice, it means that, well, the game will always use the second one. The second one because it's the second in line and the game always chooses the closest to the end. Meaning that to use Tembatsu you have to give this 6 PP to run on auto, and he will not be able to use this 3 times in a row. Remember, 5 BP means 3 cycles in 3 turns. So what you can do, you can inherit one of those 2 skills into the first version of Creator, and that will be awesome because he will be able to use this 3 times. He can just get the Creator's power attack or Theater Lux above 10, and then it will always use the inherited skill. And then after he loses BP, he can just keep using Time Q. That means if you summon for 2 versions of Creator, you have a lot of elemental coverage and a lot of control about damage. He becomes very nice to be used in Final Island because of that. I think that every week you have a usage for Creator because of that. Also, another very interesting thing is that the second version also has a very similar chase, but this time it's with a stronger attack. The third skill is the chase skill as well. This is an 8 power attack with 29 modifier, very high with some damage and a small chance to inflict confusion. Small chance with confusion, but high intelligence means that it will often land confusion on targets. It's just like the same thing with Wagner's. Wagner's can also confuse with his attack inherited, and it's a powerful attack for chase. The only problem is that it's 25% chance of this happening, like the other chase from his first style, but the rank is only 1, so the damage is way lower. Still very powerful and way stronger than Wagner's. Okay, and he also has Showtime, that's the same passive that Joe has to increase the damage of the squad in further 5. So, let's return to this version of Creator. As you can see, Creator is an AoE specialist, none of his styles use single target attack, and with very good elemental coverage. He will always attack with AoE. If you choose to just use Time Q every time, he will. If you want to start with Creator's power and then go back to Time Q all the time, you can also. And even if he skips a turn, he will always use AoE. The only thing that he lacks is single target and fast. Creator is still a meta character because of coverage and being able to fit in many setups easily. He also gets a special weapon in the future, and that gives him more intelligence while being a martial arts weapon. And he also receives another character that will match up very well with him, that's Apollo, but not on this banner. In a future one, we'll be talking about Apollo as well. So that's why Creator is a meta character and a very good value if you want to pursue all of his styles. He just gets better and better within time. And now it's time to talk about Byunei. We have the new version of Byunei, this SS style that is now very powerful because of some global buffs, and she can do some stuff that was not able in JP. Let's talk about her, but we can compare the status of the styles, and as you can see, she has lower dexterity because she does not use this. She got a higher agility, 81% against 65, so she will hardly miss any spell attacks, and lower intelligence, but she has better passives. The damage will still be higher than the past version of Byunei. And if you have the past version of Byunei, you more likely will want to summon this one to just increase her cycles and create some new strategies. Okay, that's what we have with her. Let's click here. This version of Byunei was buffed for global for her first passive. It's now Power Charge 3, allowing her to get 3 more BP on the start of a fight. She has 13 on turn 1 and 16 on turn 2. That is amazing because it allows some different cycles that were not possible in JP. She only had Power Charge 2 there, and she was kinda lacking because of that. After that, she has Slash M3, meaning that she gets 15% increase in damage when using slash attacks. Surprise, all of her attacks are slash, so this is available and activated all the time. Fired Up 5 gives her 20% more for a total of 35 at all times, even when attacking enemies that resist her damage. So, very good output for her, especially because she's more of a farmer than a boss specialist or anything else. But she still can be used in boss fights because of Dancing Leaves, although you can just inherit this to any of her styles if you want. Dancing Leaves was different in JP. This is a supportive skill that gives you a very large defense boost. Very large means 50% defense boost. This halves the damage that you receive. It can stack with other defensive buffs to even higher. If you are using Tiger's Den in someone that's already a tank, and you use this, the incoming damage will be very low. Let's talk about some characters that match this. You can use this with, well, Cotton, that does not have any way to increase his defense with skills, only with passives. You can use this with T260G for the current event. Even the current event, the enemies can be countered with Blunt if you have T260G, and then you increase the resistance of T260G. You can also use this on Madeline so that when she gets damaged, the damage will be lower, or in Mac, that's a pseudo tank that does not will not need to use the second skill to give a guard up. This passive clashes with guard up. Sorry, not passive, this skill. And then it's more for sustain for pseudo tanks than for real tanks that can just resist damage with their passives. Okay, now we have the second skill called Gale Darts, and Gale Darts is very powerful and it should be close damage to Double Crush. We had Double Crush as some of the best skills for a while. It's kind of not as strong as it was before, but it's double hit with random targets. And right now Gale Darts is an 8 BP attack. Remember, Double Crush was 10. Now we have some skills with 9 that hits twice. There are some others that hit 3 times as well, or even more than that, but some of them adds RNG. She will always attack 2 times, and this is very powerful, but only when you are chasing single enemies in a wave, because there are waves with large enemies that will be very strong to defeat them, or in some farms where you only have a boss in an event. And the good thing is that Gale Darts can be used 2 times, one after another now with her Fired Up 3, sorry, Power Charge 3. Because 8 BP plus 8 means 16, she has 16 on turn 2. So right now she is just effectively a character that has similar power to a double hitter with lower BP cost and can use this 2 times in a row. You can also compare this damage to a UDX Urpina that also uses similar cyclings. But Urpina needs to attack in turn 1 and turn 3, that's different. With Power Charge she gets a better turn cycle. Okay, and after Gale Darts, we have Wind Heal. This one is not that interesting because it's a column attack. I don't like column attacks too much because they are very niche. It's not easy to find events or stages where the enemies are aligned in a column and you want to use a powerful attack. But if you find that, it should be very strong because it adds moon damage. You have slash and moon damage in S power. That's even higher than her rising nerf attack. The rising nerf attack is that attack that you can get with her past style. Very strong, we will use this forever. Right now it doesn't have so much output because she's getting a little old when compared to some of the other meta characters, but right now with Power Charge 3 we can also open now with this attack. And it's stronger than Mech Opener. Mech Opener is B power, Rising Earth is A power, so you can even use both together if you want. They use different slots in Rainbow Rangers. Mech uses Dexterity, she uses Intelligence. You can even use someone for slash damage in an STR slot, and you can probably kill 3 waves with 3 different characters like that. Helps a lot in Final Island, you have better control over this type of stuff. Also, you can inherit Aerodyne if you want into her older build. I don't think you'll be using 360 Delta with the newest version of Byunei anymore, since her cycle is more about using the Gale Darts. But it will give a lot more damage. If you want to attack on turn 3, you can inherit Aerodyne. But maybe if you are wanting to make her a single target specialist, you can even inherit, and if you don't have the past style, something from her S style. That is Airbolt. Airbolt is a C power damage with 3 BP, meaning that she can use Air Dart 2 times and then Airbolt on turn 3 and beyond. So as you can see, this one is more about single target damage or better AoE turn 1 by inheritance. So only those that have the very first limited style of Byunei would take full advantage of this Byunei because of Power Charge 3. But those that don't have, you have a single target specialist with Gale Darts and her S style still available to everyone. Or also a supportive character to increase the resistance of pseudo tanks and tanks that don't have guard up by themselves. Very interesting, but more volley for those that already have Byunei. But still a very good character, even if you don't have. One last thing to talk is that Byunei has a future style in JP, and this one is very interesting because of something that changes how we play some evasion strategies. As you can already know, the first limited style of Byunei has an AoE agility debuff with Aerodyne. She gets another skill that's a AoE dexterity debuff with her future style. If you debuff agility from spellcasters, bosses that use a spell, you reduce their accuracy, because their accuracy is based on intelligence plus agility. But what happens when you are fighting against physical attacks that are not martial artists based? You need a dexterity debuff, and that is something that you will find with the third limited style of Byunei, meaning that this character just gets better within time. I can say that the second version of Byunei is probably the only one that you can skip if you are not thinking about meta. But then having her as well means that you have a lot of diversity when building squads. This other one here also has a good 8 BP attack with, as you can see here is a double S skill with 8 BP. But this one does not have power charge, so it will never open with Rising Earth. And this one is also another one that can nuke on turn 2 and beyond if you want a higher damage output. So I do believe that those that like to chase meta characters have to summon all versions of Byunei, but you still can skip the current one if you don't have the gems. And now it's time for the last character, that is Aunus. And Aunus is the last interesting of these characters here. He does have some very interesting status with 96% STR, that is pretty high, although not the highest we've seen. And 90% agility, that's incredibly high for someone with an axe. His dexterity on 70%, and that is kinda what we see in the current characters. Very high endurance as well, but not high will. So Aunus also brings heat damage into setups. As you can see, Aunus has AoE attacks and also single target. But let's talk about his passives first. Well, the first one is Fire Strike Ward, and this is very similar to the first and second mage version of Polka. He nullifies all hit damage and counter attacks with both slash and heat when he is hidden. So, the damage is closer to a normal attack, it's not that high. Very similar to what Polka does as well. but at least he's both slash and heat, so sometimes if the enemy that is using the heat attack is resistant to heat, he can at least do slash. A little better than Polka, but still nothing impressive. The good thing is that he always counters. If your enemy is using a multi-hit attack, it will stop the enemy. Good enough. Then he has weak point focus 3, that increases damage when hitting weak targets by 15%. Fired up 5 gives 20% more in all times. So if you are attacking a weak enemy, 15 and 20 more all time. So max of 35. Then for skills, well, Aunus has at least one very powerful one and two other ones that are, well, questionable. The first one, Backdraft, has delay, so that's good because we can control the turn that we want to use him since he has a very high agility. As you can see, sometimes he'll be attacking before your fast attackers because of such a high agility. So the first skill is Backdraft, and it's pretty incredible because this one has delay. And delay here is interesting since he has very high agility. Look, 90% will help him attack even faster than some of your fastest characters in your setups. So Backdraft is more for turn control than for real damage. If you are using for damage, it's good enough since it's slash plus heat. Double element will help with elemental coverage. But it's not something that you use in boss fights more often than just strong nodes. Then the second skill is a very old skill called Mega Hawk. That is something that's available since the start of the game. Its C power 9 BP is too much right now, the cost is too high and the power is not so strong anymore. And I don't know when we will be able to upgrade this, so ignore the second skill most of the time. Then the third one's Guillotine Bomber is something that will really help him in some setups. Guillotine Bomber is both slash and heat, as you can see here, and will be very useful if you have Joe and Genryu. Why? Joe gives 5% to all attackers and also 5% to both cold and heat. Genryu gives 5% more to cold and heat. So he will also get 15 when used alongside those two. When you are using Rainbow Rangers, you have Genryu on agility, Joe on intelligence, and now you can use this guy on the STR position, and this attack will help you defeat the third wave easily, in my opinion. Genryu will still attack probably because he's on agility position, that means that he will attack, but Guillotine Bomber is strong enough to kill many waves in the game. If you have those two together, even better. If you don't, it decreases a little of his builds. You can also use him together with Barthélemy or just Joe, because they also do heat, but, well, it will be useful for only one turn. Still, he's not a perfect farm because he cannot follow up with a sheep AoE, like he doesn't have a 3BP sheep AoE, sadly. It's just for this skill and he needs to finish one wave with this or his value is decreased. He doesn't have many things for inheritance, as you can see in his S style. Let's give a look here. If you don't want delay, you can just get hit slash to 3 BP, and the damage is similar and you will have C power the same, but without the delay, but 1 more BP. Then he has Vertical Smash, a very old skill that is critical against insects. So A power 7 BP, not something that we like, we prefer 6 BPs for A power, but this at least debuffs endurance. And the strange thing is that Aunus has very high intelligence. 65, well, for someone that uses an axe, that's pretty high. And then let's return here, the last skill is Reverse Delta. That is okay, but it's the only double S power, not triple S, and some skills are already triple S with MVP. So even if you think about inheriting this, it's just for, well, if you don't have any other stronger attacker for slash. It's just slash is not slashing heat. So even someone like Aisha may offer more versatility when using her nuke with 10 BP. Well, that is not that bad, but also not something special. So Aunus is more about his third skill and use it alongside some other AoE farmers. That's the only use of him right now, in my opinion. He does get on future SS style, but it's still pretty far. So let's return here and talk about this banner. We have 3 styles here. 2 of them are meta characters and will help you with some cyclings and some setups. Aunus will not help you too much unless you have Joe and Genryu or some other hit attackers. You can still use him with Polka, recent style, or with Barthélemy if you want, or even Volcano or Miriam, but it's just a standard farming. While if you have Genri, you enjoy, you have fast attacker or another one that always acts first to create some very fast strategies. But if you don't have, then Aunus value decreases. Creator is kind of similar to Wagner's, in better than Wagner's, better elemental coverage, keeps being relevant, has future styles that increases even more utility with more spells. And Byunei is right now someone that will create some strategies because of turn 1 fast slash damage and also double skills one after another because of power charge. If you have the past version of Byunei, this one gives you a lot of value. If you don't, it's not that important. You can also live without Creator if you have Wagner's for, well, weekly content. You can just live without him and just wait for his return if you don't have gems. It's not something that you'll be missing so much, in my opinion. Although I still believe that this banner is worth only because of Creator and Byunei. So I don't know. How about you? Do you think these characters are worth? Someone says in my Discord channel that I should be giving a seal of value to the banner, and if I was to give this one, it will be a silver award for the value of the banner. There are better banners in some other scenarios in the future that will have more than 3 useful styles, or at least 3. I still don't value Aunus so much. We also get Conquest, there's a lot of free gems incoming. You have to decide if they add more to your setups. Okay, that's it. I hope you like and enjoy this video. Please, if you want to support the channel, there are links here in the description of the video. I'll be adding them to a tier list that will be finally available in the next week. We were doing this on yesterday and it was pretty amazing experience. I hope to count on you again on the next week so we can finally finish it and add these 3 characters as well. Thanks so much. We'll see each other on the next video. Bye.